you can post a small message in the chat.
Sorry, I just began the recording for the replay, so sorry for the
No worries. So let me know in the chat if you have any question, or I think everyone can talk, right? Everyone is allowed to talk in the presentation, right? Yes? Okay, perfect. So...
meeting, so everyone is able
yes.
to...
Perfect. Well, I guess there's no big questions at the moment regarding the outreach. Maybe another question. All of you guys are B2B companies, right? Everybody's doing B2B at the moment.
Not on our side.
Not on your side?
No. So we have started first with the B2C.
Okay.
And now we want to develop ourselves on the B2B.
Okay. So it's new, but you still have the focus on the next few months that are coming to go on B2B, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
we are really starting the process right now.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys all were focused on B2B as well, because I think the presentation will bring you guys more value if you are in the B2B sphere than in the B2C one. Have any of you guys already started sending email campaigns at the moment?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, started a campaign
Okay.
through Lemlist.
Perfect.
To collect seamstresses for my platform.
Okay, awesome, very cool. And what have been the results so far?
So.
Okay. And
it's because I scrapped a lot of emails from LinkedIn, and
okay.
I don't really know them, and my platform is really new, so okay. I don't have a lot of feedbacks. And I think I had one subscription or two, okay. And I sent like 100 emails.
Okay, very cool. Well, I think the main focus of this presentation is to be able to understand your key objectives, and we'll start with that at the beginning. I think it will be interesting if you are working on the SaaS platform at the moment. We'll also focus on the channels, and I think we'll discuss about the strategy, the overall strategy in general after that. So maybe we'll be able to find new ideas to improve the strategy, so and the results as well. Is everyone here? Do you think we can start with the presentation as well? I think we're good to go now?
Yes, I think we're good to go.
Okay, awesome. So basically what I wanted to do for today, and if it's okay with you guys, I think it would be better if we do it this way. Please, if you have any question, make sure to ask them when we talk about the subject. This way it will be easier, I think, to go deeper and to dig deeper in the subject when we tackle it, and make sure we can create a discussion instead of having a presentation. I think will be funnier for everyone. Just to start with a very short intro about what we do at Oliverlist and who I am. So my name is Paul. I'm the head of sales at Oliverlist. I've been working in sales for the past 5 years today. With Oliverlist, we have two activities at the moment. The first one is a software, which is also called Oliverlist, and we allow sales team in 20 countries to automate their outreach via LinkedIn and via email. This is the main thing that we do today. Most of our competitors provide different platforms to scrape email, like you said before, being able to send emails and manage your outreach. The goal with Oliverlist was to have all of these elements on a single platform. And today, what I'm doing at the moment with the team is developing a new offer, which is basically, instead of selling a software, we do outreach for you. So basically, it's quite simple. We work with software, with brands, mostly in France today. And we scrape emails, we do campaign, and we manage to find appointments for the sales team on a commission basis. So this is what we do today. What I wanted to, I would say, share with you guys today is how to be able to optimize your outreach process. I think some of you guys already had a workshop on cold email in general and outreach in general. What I wanted to do, if that's okay with you guys, is to dig deeper, maybe in the optimization process and making sure that we have results with the campaigns that we launch. So the first thing that you want to do, I won't speak about Oliver today. I think I've already covered that. But the first thing that you want to do when you start an outreach campaign is making sure to define clear objectives. And the first thing that you need to do when defining objectives is being able to divide your sales process. So this is an example of a very basic sales process when it comes to software edition. So basically, you start doing outreach, and then you get people who sign up for a free trial. Some of these people will activate their accounts, and some of them will end up being clients. So this is some metrics that I've put here. That this is just an example. Of course, it will depend on your process. The main interesting thing, of course, is that this process is something that can be completely different for your sales team. It doesn't have to be the same steps. For example, if you have a fashion brand, maybe there will be only 2 steps or 4 steps, but maybe the first step will be having an exchange, having a chat with somebody, then sending, I would say, a product or a product demo or an appointment, and then sending the contract and then closing the contract. But in every sales cycle around the world, there is different steps, and you can put metrics on the conversion on every of these steps. If I go to the next slide, what I want to show you is that based on these steps, we will be able to define the objectives that we want to have for our sales outreach. So for example, if I've got 12 people who sign up for a free trial on my platform, if I've got 5 people, I've got 5 people who will activate their accounts and 2 will end up being clients. So if my target is to have 2 new clients per day, I know that I must generate 12 leads per day using outreach in general. And there are actually a lot of different channels that you can leverage to generate these 12 leads per day. This is a small graph that shows you basically how it looks at Oliverlist, the different channels that we use to generate these 12 leads per day, ending up in 2 new clients per day per sales rep. So basically, our main channel is called email outreach, and I will detail this very specific channel afterwards. This channel generates 45% of our leads, which means 6 leads per day per sales rep. What I call a lead is basically someone who wants to do a free trial on the platform. Another channel that we also use very often is calling. I will show you how we can optimize cold calling and link that to cold email, but this is definitely something very important. I know that if some of you have already tried doing cold calls, it may sound quite boring. It's quite demotivating as well. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But if you want to increase your lead generation, you know that this is definitely something that will help you building, I would say, a bigger lead list. Another channel that we use today is LinkedIn automation. We'll talk about that afterwards. We also use content to generate leads, LinkedIn posts, for example. We also have referral. So basically people who come to your website after somebody's told them about what you do, and organic search. So basically being able to have keywords that rank on Google to make sure to generate leads. So with all of these channels, I'm being able today to generate these 12 leads per sales rep that end up in 2 clients per day. So what I want to do now is maybe to dig a little bit deeper in every of the channels that we use. Oh. I think I muted somebody, but I'm very sorry for that, but I think it will be easier this way. Please let me know if you have any question. On On the cold email part, I think this is, as you saw before, the main channel that we use today to generate leads. It's because it's actually quite low cost compared to all of the channels that you can use. For example, cold calling, doing SEO, doing SEA, basically building other channels. I think cold emailing is one of the cheapest that you can use. And it is also as well one of the most scalable channel that you can use out there. Why is it scalable? Because you can actually automate all of your email outreach. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Another thing that is really cool, I would say, with cold emailing is that it has an impact on all of your startup key metrics. Basically, when you send cold emails, you have an impact on your acquisition, on your activation, on your retention, on your referral, and all on your revenue. I think it's one of the channels that has the biggest impact on all of the key metrics that your startup must follow. The downside of doing cold email is that if you want to do it properly, it can take quite a long time. It takes a long time to set up. If you want to send a cold email campaign, you have to update your sending domain, basically the emails that you will use to send cold emails to your prospects, making sure that you have set the different parameters. We can talk about that later on if you'd like. It also requires a certain rigor, making sure that you define your objective properly, making sure you define your targets properly. And it also requires a bunch of other different skills. Basically, if you want to send a good email campaign, you'll have to be able to be good at fetching data, scraping data, enriching the data, validating the data, make sure to import the data properly into your tool, being able to create nice and personalized sequences, and being also able to monitor all of that to make sure that you can improve these results based on what you've seen. So cold email is one of the channels I personally like the most. It's one of the most scalable and one of the cheapest, so very good fit for your startup, but it also takes a certain rigor and expertise.
Paul, may
Yep.
sorry, may I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
The question I have on the cold email is related to the email address by that itself. So when you say cheap, as far as we look at that on our site, it was a question of buying some email address or finding a way of collecting this email address. Do you have some recommendation on that?
Yeah, sure. For your first part of the question, I would say regarding buying email address, you've got different ways of doing so. What I would recommend is, of course, to start with a professional email address. This is something very important. You don't want to contact anybody using a Gmail account or a Hotmail account. Another important thing as well is you want to have a personal, I would say, name, last name composition in your email address. You don't want to send email outreach with a contact@yourcompany.com. You will send the email with miguel.martinez@mycompany.com to make sure that you have an outreach that feels more personal and that the person in front will think that it's actually you who is sending the cold email. Did that answer this part of the question, or was it completely something else?
Now, my question was, when you said that, meaning that if we buy an address, means that I have to buy an address which is paul.boucher. That's
Exactly.
what you mean, exactly. I'm not buying info@Oliver.
Actually,
Okay.
in the process of sending email, you will have to buy a domain name. So it can be the domain name that you have already on your website. So for example, mycompany.com, and you want to connect your email address on this domain name and create address that look like first name, last name at mydomain.com.
No, sorry. So then no, I had a misunderstanding here. So when I'm speaking about, if I want to send a cold email, so I will say a large number of emails. So then I don't have the email address of my destination. I don't know them. So then I need to buy here a library of email address.
This is definitely something that I would recommend doing. If you don't already have the email address, you will have two options, either to buy a list or to find it by yourself using different tools. The process I recommend is not the first one, it's the second. It's easier and cheaper to find the email address, and you will get better performance. I will show you a bunch of different tools that you can use to find the email address. Oliverlist is one of these tools. But basically, I would say the easiest way to find email address in 2022 is to start with LinkedIn. So basically, you go on LinkedIn, you run a sample search with different criteria, geographical, industry, job title as well, and you get a search URL.
Okay.
It's the address of the search. You run this search into a tool that can scrape this data, which means we can get the data with all of the first name, last name, company name, and job title. And some tools will also help you to enrich this data with contact information.
So actually, the question is how to collect all these email addresses. Huh? Do you have any recommendation, of providers on the net that there are many standing email addresses? So is it something that is reliable, or it's a cost of money for nothing?
Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, is I recommend any provider to find email address? Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Actually, the provider that you will choose depends on the list that you have. One of the most famous provider to find email address on the market is Drop Contact. Do you guys know this company?
No.
It's called Drop Contact. I think it's .io. It's actually one of the tools that you can use as well on Oliverlist to enrich the data. It's called dropcontact.io. Basically, what this tool allows you to do is that you send them a spreadsheet with first name, last name, company name, and they will return the email address for this person.
Oh, excellent. Mm-hmm.
So this is a very useful tool, and this tool is actually embedded in Oliverlist. So what we do at Oliverlist is that you give us, for example, an example of a LinkedIn search with a bunch of people, and we will be able to get this data, enrich this data with email address, and allow you to contact these people.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Miguel, did I also answer your question as well?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I didn't quite understand what you guys needed, but I'm glad if we managed to reply.
Hey, sorry, can I just ask one more thing?
Of course.
You just explained how from LinkedIn we can get the email address to send an email campaign, or do we really need to go through this email, or can't we just send a message through LinkedIn messagerie?
That's a good question. Actually, you can do both, and I'll show you how we can optimize this process just afterwards. The good thing with email is that you can send up to 100 new emails per day. You can connect with 100 new person per day. The thing with LinkedIn is that if you do it automatically, which is something that you can do using different tools, you will be limited to contacting 70 people per week, which is actually super low.
Yeah, okay.
So the best thing to do is actually to combine both, being able to start your outreach maybe via email to make sure you connect with the most people possible, and find the people that you want to connect with based on the reaction of your email campaign. I'll show you an example afterwards. Is that okay?
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. The second channel I also wanted to focus on is the cold phoning. I told you at the beginning, I think most people do not like doing cold phoning because it's quite, it's also associated with teleprospecting. It's something most people fear. They do not like having the door shut in front of their face, which is completely normal. But if you take the time to focus on this channel, I think it's one of the channels that brings the most results, that can allow you to book the most appointments for your team. So it's something very powerful, and I'll show you how to use that at the right time to limit the number of cold calls you will have to do, and to make sure that your cold calls are efficient. Another channel that I wanted to share with you guys, and I think Ariane told us about that before, is also LinkedIn. The cool thing about LinkedIn is that 90% of the decision makers in Europe have an account on LinkedIn, and you can also very easily automate your outreach on this platform. Another thing that is very interesting is that on LinkedIn, when you send a message, you have around 50% chances of getting a reply, which is way higher than going with email. So the downsides of LinkedIn is that it's poorly scalable, which means that if you want to do outreach and to contact a lot of people on LinkedIn in an automated way, this is not something you will be able to do easily. Most of the time, LinkedIn limits you to 70 invite requests per week, which isn't very big. When you want to do outreach, you want to generate, as we said before, up to 12 leads per day. If you connect with 70 people, 70% per week, you will not be able to meet these objectives at all. So this is definitely a channel that you want to use, but you will not be able to use that on its own. Okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
It's just you say we just can connect with 70 people per week, but for example, I use Walaxy. It's for the prospection, and in the campaign of Walaxy, we need to connect with people, and we can answer 100 people for the campaign.
Sure.
So could we have with Walaxy 100 connection in LinkedIn in just a few days?
Sure. So this is something very interesting. Basically, what happened last year is that before May of 2021, you were able very easily, without risking anything on your LinkedIn account, to send up to 100 new connection requests per day, which is something that was very relevant when you wanted to do outreach. But after May, LinkedIn did a restriction, and now it's going to be harder and harder to send more than 70 connections per week. But some tools allow you to do that. For example, you name one of them, which is Walaxy, which is a sales automation tool, and which will allow you to bypass this limit. But it also comes with a few risks. LinkedIn now tries to limit as much as possible the automation on the platform. And most of the people who bypass this limit may end up being banned or restricted on LinkedIn. I saw that for the past few months, people using and bypassing this automation, there's been a very big increase on accounts being banned or signaled. So this is not something I would recommend, but this is very interesting, Oscar, because this option exists. This is something that you can do, but I would not recommend doing it actually with your main LinkedIn account, at least. But you can, of course, give it a try and see what happens, but it's getting riskier and riskier, which is something I would not recommend.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Maybe that I can also give you, and that was the goal for today, the exact strategy that we've been using for the past few months at Oliverlist. Maybe also I can share a bunch of results that we've had. I know that this scheme is quite complex and doesn't look very good, but I'll try explaining that to you and making it quite understandable. So basically, it all starts here. So this is an email campaign or a global campaign that we've been running with different steps in it. So basically, the targets for this campaign was to connect with the management team in sales, in marketing, and in administration to sell our own products. We've been focusing industries with mass markets and with a big focus on small and medium companies. So basically, the email sequence that we've decided to build was composed of 3 emails that were separated by a few days each, and there was no limits on reminders. This is something very important in the outreach campaign that we do, is that we do not limit the number of emails in time that we send. For example, every 3 months, we send the new campaigns to the people that have not replied to us or that have said, well, I'm not interested at the moment. And I'll show you how we do that. So basically, at the first step of the campaign, we send the first email. At this time, we have a 7% reply rate for the first email. In these 7%, we've got a 3% positive reply rate. What I mean by positive is that people who show interest in what we offer. At this time, when people give us a positive reply, we also give them a context-based call. So we take the phone and we give them a call, and making sure that we increase our chances that the person will create an account on the platform. So for this path, basically 7% after the first email people reply, 3% of, so basically 50% of the 7% have a positive reply, and 1% will end up by creating an account. So this means that only by using the email channel every day, if I contact 100 person, I'm able to generate 1 new sign up per day on my platform. The thing that is interesting here as well is that if the person replies after my first email, and if his reply is negative, I'm not going to leave this prospect here. I'm going to put him in another sequence 6 months later. This way, as I told you before, I'm making sure that if he's interested 6 months later, I'm still able to connect with him. So this was only for the email replies after the first email. Something interesting is that after the first email, we get 7% reply. And after the third email, we'll get as high as 25% reply rate on our campaigns, which means that it's super important to make sure that you do not send only one emails, but you send multiple emails in the campaign, because it will definitely increase your reply rate. In the people that we target, we also join a link in the email campaigns that we create, and 20% of the people that we contact at the first email will come and visit our website, oliverlist.com. When they come and visit our website, we include a small tracking link using our platform on our website, and we are able to monitor the time they spend on the platform. If they spend more than 1 minute on the platform, somebody in our team will give us a call. This is actually quite interesting, because this way we are also able to leverage the power of cold calling, but not on cold prospects, which means that the people who do cold call in our team will be able to connect with people who know what they do and who show some interest, at least in the product. This is very interesting because it's also a good way to motivate the team members who are in charge of cold calling. Instead of just cold calling people randomly, you cold call people who are already a little bit hot, I would say. And this way it's less and less discouraging, and you got higher conversion rate. Okay. In the campaign that we send, we also have a 1% account creation right away. So by doing this, we already have only via the email channel 2% account creation. This is the KPI that we decided to track at the beginning of our call, the beginning of the meeting, of the presentation, but there's definitely a bunch of other metrics that you can track depending on your business. Another important metric is that after the first email, 70% of the people has led no action at all. This is the reason why I told you at the beginning, when showing you this email strategy, it's super important not only to send one email, but to send a bunch of emails separated in a few days. All right.
Paul, just a question.
Sure.
Do you when someone is answering in one way, meaning losing the link, or anyway, I would say after the first email, do you remove them from the second email, or are they still going to receive the second and the third email even?
It's actually super important, Miguel, and you are right. to tell us that when somebody replies to you, you need to treat it manually. Of course, you're not going to send him a reply. You're not going to leave him in the. You are going to send him a reply, and you are not going to leave him in the email sequence. You need to take out this prospect of the campaign, except if his email is an automatic email. For example, last 2 weeks, we all had a bunch of emails saying, I'm on vacation. You still keep this person in the campaign. But if somebody replies to your email, you need to take the time to reply manually to this email and to remove these prospects from the list. Another thing that is super important is to make sure that your email campaigns have an account-based approach. If I'm going to send an email, for example, to one of your startup guys, and some of you reply to me. If one of your team members reply to me, I'm going to make sure that I also remove the other team members from the campaign, because I'm supposed to already be in a chat with one of your team members. So if somebody in a company replies to you, make sure that all of the people in the same company, if it's not a big company, are removed from the email sequence as well. Does that sorry, Miguel. Does that answer your question?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we've got, I would say, a little bit bigger strategy that will use, I would say, the power of context. There's actually quite a few tutorials on the internet about email outreach, and a lot of them are talking about making sure that your email is very personal. To be honest, I'm not sure that having a very personal email or a very personal first line is super important to generate more performance. Actually, this is what we monitored. We send on a daily basis 50,000 email, and having personalized first lines has a very low impact on the performance. However, something that is very relevant and important when doing a cold email outreach campaign is to make sure that you put context in the campaign. It will be much more efficient to connect with somebody at the right time instead of sending a first line that is completely personal. For example, with this strategy, we've decided to connect with people having interests in, I think it's B2B outreach. So how can I monitor that? For example, I can go on LinkedIn and find a LinkedIn post that talks about a subject that is relevant for my company. For example, if I'm building a sustainable fashion brand, I can go on LinkedIn, write sustainable fashion, and see all of the posts that are talking about a subject that is really relevant for my brand. This way, when I'm looking at the people who leave a comment or leave a like on the post, I can know already that these people are interested in the subject my brand talks about. Is that clear for everyone? Because my English was not perfect here, so I can repeat.
Clear.
Clear? Okay, perfect. So basically what you can do with different tools, for example, you can do that with Phantom Buster, but you can also do that with our tool, is being able to get the list of all of the people who have liked a post on LinkedIn, which is relevant for your company, or the people who have commented a post relevant for the company. This way, you're going to be able to send a connection message to these people on LinkedIn and make sure that you can get very personalized and very contextualized connection requests. So for example, when I'm doing this strategy, I will send a message like, hey, Oscar, I saw that we both liked this post on LinkedIn regarding sustainable fashion. Is that a subject that is important for you at the moment? I would love to have a chat about it soon, for example. This is the type of message that you can put in the connection request to make sure they are very personal and to make sure you get a higher reply rate. For this strategy, so I told you we have decided to connect with people who have interacted with posts, LinkedIn posts, but this also works if you want to connect with people who have participated to an event, sorry. So for example, you can go on LinkedIn, find an event related still to sustainable fashion, make sure that you can get the list of everybody who participated to this event and send them an email or a connection message. Still for this strategy, the first step, as I told you, is to identify a post of an influencer. Then using Phantom Buster or other tools like Oliver List, you will be able to extract the list of every people who commented or liked the post. Once you've done that, you will have a Google spreadsheet with the list of all of the people who've done that. And then you can use another time Phantom Buster to send a personalized connection request to the profiles that you've identified. Here, I think on this slide, I've shown the different results that you get doing this strategy. So basically, after the first message, you get a 20% response rate from the prospects with the accepted connections, and you can have a chat with them leading to an account creation or a demo or a chat. And there's another path where people create their account right away. So that's another 3% in total account creation. And by adding up these two strategies, you are able to end up with the 6 leads we are supposed to generate daily with outreach using both LinkedIn and email. Is that clear for everyone?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I have a question.
Hi, sure.
Same, because you have on this slide, you have the acquisition costs, and on the previous slide, you have acquisition costs as well. Can you talk about that? I mean...
Sure. So basically, this is the cost of acquisition by trial. This is something that we monitor to make sure that we spend as few money as possible on the acquisition. And I'm very sorry, I see that I didn't translate the acquisition cost below the, I would say the, how can I say that? Sorry, the different terms, I would say, in the equation. So to be able to run this strategy, we have spent 46 euros. So 35 euros.
In total, you mean? It's not per day or whatever?
I think this is the cost of acquisition per trial. So this is not in total. This is not. I don't know what.
Per trial, what you mean, like the test of campaign, right?
So
or the first campaign.
The trial. What I mean by trial is, as we have a software product, our objective is to generate demo and free trials on our platform. So the KPI we monitor, which we call trials, is the number of demos people have asked on the platform. But for your case, you can take form requests as a metric. Is that clear for you guys?
Okay.
This is just basically the KPI that we follow. It can be contact requests, it can be responses, it can be basically positive replies, it can be whatever you want. But the thing that we monitored for this campaign is the free trial, because this is what we do at Oliver List. When doing lead generation, we try to have free trials on the platform. So the thing we monitor here is the cost per trial. So the total strategy here has cost us 46 euros. 35 euros was spent on the data. So the tool that we used to find this data is the tool that I told you about earlier today, which is dropcontact.io. 2 euros per license and 9 euros per sale. So to be fairly honest, this is a calculation that was done very simply by splitting the price, by taking into account, the time the sales rep spends monitoring and doing this campaign compared to what it costs the company. And by doing that, we're able to find a cost of acquisition of at 11 euros. But this is just actually to give you an idea of how much generating a demo costs for our team. I cannot guarantee it will be the same for you guys, because this depends, especially the part sales, depends on the organization that you guys set up. And on the other one, I think the acquisition cost is a bit lower because it's 8 euros compared to 11 euros. But you have to take into account the fact that running a strategy on LinkedIn is hardly scalable. You cannot contact 2,000 people per day on LinkedIn, but you can do that by email. So finding a new lead by email may cost you a little more money, but it can also be a more scalable method. Is that clearer for you?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Nice. My pleasure. I also had a very small part of the presentation, and then I'll leave you guys to this about LinkedIn in general. At the time, having an interesting and a I would say, configured LinkedIn profile is super important. And there's a bunch of few things that are, I would say, quite important to know when creating your LinkedIn account and optimizing your account. The first thing that you need to know is that for your profile, you can customize the URL, the link to see your profile. And if you send in an email a link to your profile, you want to make sure that the link is easily recognizable and easy to see. The other thing that you want to add on your LinkedIn account is basically a cover presenting your product behind you. There's a bunch of things you can actually do to increase and to improve your LinkedIn profile. But the most important thing to understand is that your profile on LinkedIn will be one of your, I would say, key assets to promote what you do and to sell your products. So do not, I would say, throw it away or well, can I say that? Maybe please take the time to develop your LinkedIn profile because it will be super important for you guys. And instead of developing your company's, I would say, LinkedIn profile, I can guarantee you that will be much more efficient, to develop your very own LinkedIn profile instead of developing your company page. Why? It's mostly because developing your company page will give you a lot less reach on LinkedIn. When somebody is publishing a post on LinkedIn, it will have definitely more reach, more people will view it than if it's a company that is publishing a post. This is only because people identify themselves more easily to people who post than to company in general. Another thing that is quite important, if you decide to post on LinkedIn, please make sure to leverage that in your email strategy. For example, if you decide to publish content, I'm going to take the same example as before on sustainable fashion. You want to make sure that once you've published a post on LinkedIn and people have liked this post or commented it, you can make sure to get all of these people to find their email address or to connect with them on LinkedIn to generate new leads. And this is something that was very important. This is basically where I wanted to stop the presentation, just to give you an overview of what we saw today. And I hope that this was helpful for you guys. The first thing that you need to do when creating an outreach strategy is making sure to define clear objectives. Outreach is really a game of math. So if you want to be able to generate a successful, to create a successful lead generation campaign, make sure to start by defining your objectives. I also showed you that this was super important to set up cross channels action, because all of the channels have the advantages and the downside. Once you are able to create all of these actions, you can optimize that and scale that in the end. I think that was all for me today. Do you guys have any questions or any, I would say, more thorough example that you wanted me to show you guys? I think, Ghislain, if you are speaking, the microphone is muted at the moment.
No, I was
okay.
speaking. No. Thank you very much.
Animation. Well, thank you very much, guys. Any other question that you guys wanted to to talk about today?
I have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
It's not so much about tools, but I'm really just getting into the commercial part, and I'm surprised by the number of how many people you need to contact to get one, or in your case, account created. Mm-hmm. Is that like 100 contacts to one creation? Is that some kind of general information for a B2B business, or?
So basically, it will depend. In general, you can think if you are trying to scale your outreach, if you are not doing very personalized things, what you can expect in terms of number is actually, yes, to have, for example, 2 or 3 account creation for 100 people that you contact. But of course, you can increase that by doing things more personal. What I showed you today is something that you can scale. So if, for example, if you have a platform like us, and you want to generate 10 or 20 new signups per day on your platform because you have 20 sales and you have a huge market, it can be more efficient to have 20 campaigns running that have a 3% conversion rate than to ask your sales, to do very personal email outreach campaigns that generate 10% conversion. But of course, it's sure that you can definitely increase this number by doing things more customized and more personal. But if you are doing something at scale, this is the numbers that you can expect.
Okay, thanks. Just because I'm on a niche market, so I'm like, I can't even find 100 contacts if I wanted to, I think so. But that's my problem. Okay, so, thanks.
Very important, Ayane. If you are doing that, the thing that I would definitely recommend you doing is, instead of trying to automate things, I don't think that would be really relevant if you have 100 people to connect with in your market. Try tools that will allow you to find the phone number of these people, or start by, I would say, making your LinkedIn network as big as possible to be able to be referred to these people instead of doing automation. This is something I would recommend. Automation, I think, is actually quite interesting when you have a market which is bigger than 10,000 or 20,000 people that you want to contact per quarter. If you have a market that is lower than that, I would definitely recommend doing a lot less scalable solutions, but solutions that are very personal in order not to burn any contacts.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other question that you guys had?
Yes. I just have a question. Actually, I'm on a campaign on the as I say before, and I just want to know for my first message on LinkedIn, the first contact with the customer, I just make a little introduction. So I just say hello. Can I do it in French because I write it in French? So I just dire bonjour en surfant sur LinkedIn. Je suis tombé sur votre profil. J'ai vu que vous étiez directeur supply chain. Je m'intéresse tout particulièrement aux problématiques de la supply chain et j'aimerais donc me connecter avec vous. Très bonne journée. It's just to make a contact and don't present what I do.
So this is a good way of doing that. But from my perspective and the tests we've run, if you are going to send a message that is not focused on your sales, it would be, you will have better performances if you put no message at all.
Okay.
This is from the test we've run on a sample of head of sales and sales reps. So I'm not sure if it's going to be the same on your market, but if I were you, we'll try.
It's just because for the moment I can't sell my products. My products is just to make before the start of our projects, to make to have some contacts and to speak with people if they are interested about what we do.
I'm 100% agree with what you say, but I think that if you add this message at the beginning of your connection request, people will think that you will want to sell them something. And if it's not the case, it's too bad, because at the end, when people see this type of message, they think that you will take the time afterwards to send them another message where you want to sell them something.
Okay.
So if I were you, I would rather send a message with, I would rather send a connection request with nothing inside.
Yeah.
And compare these two, I would say, approaches.
Okay.
But it's worth trying.
Okay. Okay. Very nice. Thank you.
My pleasure. Is there any other question that you guys had, or on campaigns running you wanted a second opinion, maybe? Or maybe we're all good. Well,
I have another question.
Sure.
If nobody else. So I understand the mass emailing, maybe approach is not for me, but I'm still interested about the tools you use, especially the Phantom one you talked about. Is it, I guess, for most tools you have like a free version and upgraded version? Yeah, it's the same?
Definitely,
okay. Yeah, okay.
Definitely. Yeah. What do you actually want to do with these tools? Because maybe if you guys have some more time, I can show you a short example.
So my topic is menopause. So menopause at work. So as I said, it's a niche market. And so yeah, I was interested about what you said about extracting the list of people who liked a post.
Sure. Well, maybe we can try that. We can take a few minutes to do that. To be 100% honest, I'll see if I have accounts that I can use to do that on the tools I showed you, because I'm not the one who's doing that at Oliverlist at the moment. We use our own tool to do that. But let me try sharing my screen again and running a search, a test with you guys. Okay. Let's see if I've got something on Phantom Buster running as well. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So let me see. I think it should be the right one. Can you guys see my screen at the moment?
Yes.
All good? Perfect. So the first thing I want to do is to go to my LinkedIn and search for menopause. So I'm just typing in the keywords, and then I've got 7 filters that I can use. The first thing I can use is actually the post I told you about. The other things we will be able to use later on is also the events. For example, maybe there's some events on LinkedIn where people participate that are relevant when talking about the menopauses. So for example, here we've got 50 people that liked this post. So is that relevant for you, Ayan?
Yes.
Perfect. So what you want to do when you have found a post that is relevant for your business is that you go to the upper right corner of the post and you copy the link to the post just here. Then you go to the tool I told you about before, which is called Phantom Buster. And the thing that you will do is go to Phantom, LinkedIn as well, and search for the Phantom that is called like extractor, I think. LinkedIn post likers. So that's the one that you want to grab. Just click to use this Phantom. And then Phantom Buster will ask you to connect to LinkedIn. So all of these tools will basically use your LinkedIn session to be able to do automation. So it's actually very easy to do. You just need to download their Google Chrome extension and to click to connect to LinkedIn. Then you can just hit save. And now it's going to ask you the post to process. So remember a few seconds ago, I grabbed the link to this post, but I can also add a Google document, online Google document with a list of posts that I want to extract, which can be useful if I've for example, 20 posts that are interesting for my subject. So here, I'm just going to paste the URL that I found. I'm going to remove the duplicate profiles. And number of posts to process per launch here, I'm going to leave it to 1 because I just put 1 URL. Then Phantom Buster will ask you how many times you want to run it per day. Here, as I'm going to run it on a single post, I can play it manually. But if you have a very long list, you can ask it to launch repeatedly to make sure you extract all of the data. I'm going to press save and then launch. So once this will be done, I will have a Google spreadsheet with the list of all of the people who have liked, I would say, my LinkedIn post that I thought was interesting. I think I'm good now. I'm going to look at the file. So I've got the file just here. And if I want, I can download the CSV that is linked to this extraction, as I can say. So basically what you get here is the list of all of the people who have liked the LinkedIn post.
Okay, great, thanks.
Just here.
Right.
Here you get the list. And what you can do just afterwards is just go to the tool I named earlier, which is called Drop Contact. You create a free account, you drag and drop the file to Drop Contact, and you will get the email addresses for these people, which is actually quite easy to do. Let me try if we can do that. Maybe create a fake account. Another tip that can be very useful for you guys when you are trying new software, I would recommend using a fake email address. I don't know if this will work on this website, but one tool I can recommend is called shocklasers.com, which basically generates you a fake email address that you can use. So basically, you take the address that it generated to you, you go and subscribe to Drop Contact. I don't know if this will work here. No, he doesn't want me to use that. He's not happy with the Shark Laser one. Too bad. Let me see if I can try with one of my accounts. Okay, I'll try with my personal email address. He's not happy because it's not a professional email address. But if you guys have one professional email address, you can try Drop Contact. You can just put the file that I showed you before, how to extract, and you will get a list of enriched email address. Is that clear for everyone?
Great, yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Ian, maybe I can give you actually the file here, if it can help. Maybe in the chat.
One question.
Sure.
How many returns in terms of email do you get usually?
You mean replies?
Yeah, when you have this kind of approach, how many email do you get? It was like 65 profile, and on the 65.
So basically, Drop Contact will find approximately 50% of the email address.
Okay.
And if you want to have the phone numbers of these people, I would recommend another tool that is called Casper.io, which is super useful. And you can actually add that as a Chrome extension to your LinkedIn, and it will be able to give you the direct phone numbers of the people that you want to prospect. So this can be definitely useful, especially for Ian, who has a very niche market. If you want to find the phone numbers for the people, that can be a good tool to use.
So both are doing mail and phone numbers, or not?
So Drop Contact is only focused on professional email address and generic phone numbers. So it's super useful, but if you want to find the direct mobile numbers of the people, I would recommend you guys using Casper, which is much more efficient for this purpose. And
so Casper is like Lusha?
Casper is more like Lusha, yeah. And it's actually quite expensive as well. And Drop Contact is much less expensive, especially if you want to run only email addresses.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other question or any example that you guys wanted to run together? Are we all good? I know it's also quite late, so I think maybe some of you guys are already quite hungry. So maybe I'll leave you guys to eat right now. Well, thank you guys so much for joining and participating. Yes.
One last thing. Do you have an email address where we can reach you or send you an email if we get question?
Of course, sure. I can definitely send you the presentation, and I think my email address is in it. You can reach out to me at paul.bush@oliverlist.com. I think I can write that down for you in the chat as well. And if you'd like, we can connect on LinkedIn. Please send me just an invite request, and I'm happy to reply to your questions anytime.
Okay, thank you very much.
Paul.push@Oliverlist. I'm sending that to you via chat. I think it should be good by now. Well, as I said before, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here. It was a pleasure meeting you all. Talk to you very soon, maybe on LinkedIn or via email. If I can do anything to help you guys with your outreach in general, I'm very happy to do it. So just feel free to ask. Best of luck to you guys in the process of being able to optimize your campaign. I'm actually quite sorry because I thought that you already had a few days ago a workshop on the cold email and running campaigns in general. So I thought that you guys already knew all of these tools quite well. But I'm super happy that we had time to run a few examples. And as I told you, if you guys want to dig deeper, just feel free to reach out to me via mail or LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to have a chat together.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the workshop.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you,
guys.
Thank you. It was really relevant.
Awesome.
Have a nice lunch. Bye-bye.
Have a nice lunch, guys. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.